Hi everyone, it's Jeff King coming to you from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. Professor Curis has asked me to talk briefly to you about my clerkship experience here, as well about clerkships in general. To start, I will just review why I'm here, which is serving as the Judicial Law Clerk to the Honorable Chief Justice Louise Charbonneau of the Supreme Court of the Northwest Territories. In addition, I am an ex officio Judicial Law Clerk to the judges of the Courts of Appeal for the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. So I've had a chance to work with 4 different courts, 1 at the trial level and 3 at the appellate review level. And so I think that whether one is taking part in this program, the Northwest Territories clerkship program, or a clerkship for their articling year, or a judicial internship, which I know that Windsor Law also offers, I think that it's an invaluable chance to get an inside look at the judicial reasoning process employed by judges. And to that, I look to the paper that I'm sure that you've all read, which is the paper of Chief Justice Laskin of the Ontario Court of Appeal, entitled Forget the Wind-Up, Make the Pitch, where he says that the cardinal rule of advocacy is to first, before you begin, trade places with your audience, that being the judge in most cases. And so in my case, I thought this would be an excellent opportunity to trade places with my audience, someone that wants to be a litigator in the future, and to learn about how exactly a judge reasons. So now I'll just briefly talk about the overall timeline of the process with this clerkship, and then I'll have some comments overall about clerkships in general and preparing for them. In the case of the Northwest Territories clerkship, applications are due in mid-March, which has just passed, of course, and it requires a resume, transcript, a writing sample, and reference letters from what I recall. And then in mid-May or so, the court will provide Windsor Law with the names of 1 second-year student and 1 third-year student who have been accepted to the program, and they will then, in the following year, take part. And it will be a 1-term placement where they will attend court every day, whether that be criminal chambers, civil chambers, or family chambers, and whether in Yellowknife, which is the capital of the Northwest Territories, or in a town or village or some other area when the court is on circuit. And so in my case, I followed that process. As a second-year student, which I am, I had to take civil procedure and evidence law in my first term in order to qualify for this clerkship. I took those, as well as some other courses in my first term, and then I arrived here on the first day of classes, I think which was January 6th or 7th, and will be here until April 9th, I believe. And so each day really varies depending on what is happening in the court. Here, this is a fairly small court. The Supreme Court is a Section 96 court pursuant to the Constitution Act, which means it's a court with federally appointed judges, similar to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. And these judges here, as I said, civil, family, and criminal matters. And so each day really varies, and you're always on call, because the role of a judicial law clerk, especially if you're clerking for your articling year, is to be a resource for the judges and generally be the one to go and find the answer to those obscure, unusual questions of law that the judge simply doesn't know the answer to, but is required in order to render their judgment for a particular matter. So in my case, as I said, this could be a family law matter, a civil law matter, a criminal law matter. It seems here, at least, the vast majority of the cases are criminal, as opposed to civil or family, although there are a lot of other cases as well, but it's just that those are the ones that at least take the most time, given that there are a lot of jury trials here and a lot of very complicated trials overall. And so in my case, I have worked on memorandum for various areas of law, from family law to different civil matters involving contracts to different areas of criminal law. And I should mention that I hadn't taken courses for many of these areas of law. And so it was really a chance to learn on the spot, in which time it was very helpful to review everything I learned from Professor Curis in her class involving legal research, looking at the McGill Guide, and really being able to teach myself these areas of law. And so it's an adventure. It's one thing to learn about these things in the classroom, but to put them to practice is quite another. And so I found that to be a very valuable experience. And so that's my day-to-day time, a full workday, 5 days a week, as you would find elsewhere, and just watching court or helping the judges prepare for court, whether that be working with a memo or just talking about a certain issue, as well as going on circuit. I had the opportunity to go to Fort Simpson, which is a village in the Northwest Territories of about 1,200 people, and it was quite a shift to go there. Yellowknife, by comparison, is a fairly large city, but there's quite a change once you get outside of there. And so that's really this clerkship. I also have to write a paper, and overall it is equivalent to one full term of courses, so approximately 15 to 16 credits from what I recall. And just generally speaking, I think that clerkships in general, as I said, are very valuable, even if you don't want to be a litigator, whether civil or criminal, and simply just want to have that perspective of when you read a judgment, knowing what the judge is thinking. Also recognizing that judges are human, they're people, and they have their own perspectives and their own personalities. And the way one judge thinks and acts may be quite unique and may be quite separate from how a different judge of the same court, for example, will approach the same issue. They're, of course, bound by the same law, but how they interpret that and how they convey the meaning and write their judgment will be very different. And so I think that's a valuable skill, as well as, of course, whether you're at a trial level or at an appellate level will really differ, because at a trial level, these judges are looking at everything that's coming across. It's a very wide lens, so to speak. Whereas on appeal, usually, in most cases, there are 1 to 2 issues, or at least only a few issues, that receive a lot of scrutiny. And those judges have a long time to make their decision and to conduct research in support of that. Whereas a trial judge, everything is happening so fast relatively that it's very easy to let something slip a little bit, unfortunately, or to have some difficulty being quite as clear as you might be if you were at the Court of Appeal, where their lens, their area of focus is so much more narrow, appropriately. And so I think that regardless of what level you are at, and whether you're doing an internship or a clerkship, whether part of school, such as this one, or for art, I think just the experience of being able to trade places with a judge, as Chief Justice Laskin has said, is invaluable, and it will help you understand and shape your experience going forward, regardless of what area of law that you want to do. And so just in closing, I think that universally, with all clerkships, it's important to have good grades, good references, good writing samples. I know that especially for the articling clerkships, some courts require 1 or even 2 writing samples, and so you might want to think about that in the future, taking some courses that have essays or papers that you have to write. In my case, I used my legal research memo from my first year as my writing sample, and that worked in my case for my clerkship. And every court is different, so I would also emphasize that having a real tie or some kind of draw to that particular court, the areas of law that they cover, the judges, or that geographic area, or a combination of those, is very important in making yourself stand out as a candidate, because it is a job interview, much as OCIs or any other kind of application process would be. And so with that, I wish you luck with the rest of your first year and your exams. And if you have any questions about clerkships, feel free to let me know, and hopefully we can meet in person to talk about them. Thank you.